O woman of the piercing wail, who mournest o'er yon mound of clay with scion grown, would God thou wert among the gale. Thou wouldest he not then from day to day weep thus alone. 'Twere long before around a grave in green Tyrconnel, one could find this loneliness, near where and boyish spanners wave, such relief as thine could ne'er have pined companionless. Beside the wave and on a gall, in Antrim glens, or Fedra moor, or Killilly, or where the sunny waters fall at us a row, near Erna shore, this could not be. On Derry's plains, in rich Drumcliff, throughout Armagh the Great, renowned in olden years, no day could pass but woman's grief would rain upon the burial ground fresh floods of tears. Oh no! From Shannon, Boyne, and Shore, from high Dunluce's castle walls, from Lissadil, would flock alike both rich and poor. One wail would rise from Crewconness halls to Tara Hill, and some would come from Barrowside, and many a maid would leave her home on Leitrim's plains, and by melodious Banner's tide, and by the Morn and Erne, to come and swell thy strains. Oh, horses' hoofs would trample down the mount whereon the martyr saint was crucified, from glen and hill, from plain and town. One loud lament, one thrilling plaint, would echo wide they would not soon be found. I ween, 1 foot of ground among those bands from useful thought, so many shriekers of the keen would cry aloud, and clap their hands, all woe distraught. 2 princes of the line of Connecticut sleep in their cells of clay beside O'Donnell Row. 3 royal youths, alas, are gone, who lived for Erin's weal, but died for Erin's woe. Ah, could the men of Ireland read the names those noteless burial stones display to view, their wounded hearts afresh would bleed, their tears gush forth again, their groans resound anew. The youths whose relics moulder here were sprung from Hugh, High Prince and Lord of Ailech's lands, thy noble brothers, justly dear, thy nephew, long to be deplored by Ulster's bands. Theirs were not souls wherein dull time could domicile decay, or house decrepitude. They passed from earth ere manhood's prime, ere years had power to dim their brows, or chill their blood. And who can marvel o'er thy grief, or who can blame thy flowing tears, who knows their source? O'Donnell, Dunasavar's chief, cut off amid his vernal years, lies here a corse beside his brother Cathbar, whom Tyrconnel of the helmets mourns in deep despair, for valour, truth, and comely bloom, for all that greatens and adorns, a peerless bear. Oh, had these twain, and he, the third, the Lord of Morn, O'Neill's son, their mate in death, a prince in look, in deed, and word, had these 3 heroes yielded on the field their breath, oh, had they fallen on Crewconness plain, there would not be a town or clan from shore to sea, but would with shrieks bewailed the slain, or chant aloud the exulting ran of jubilee. When high the shout of battle rose, on fields where freedom's torch still burned through Erin's gloom, if barely one of those were slain, all Ulster would have mourned the hero's doom. If at Athboy, where hosts of brave Ulidian horsemen sank beneath the shock of spears, young Hugh O'Neill had found a grave, long must the North have wept his death with heart-wrung tears. If on the day of Ballochmire the Lord of Morn had met thus young, a warrior's fate, in vain would such as thou desire to mourn, alone, the champion sprung from Neil the Great. No marvel this, for all the dead, heaped on the field, pile over pile, at Mullaghbrack, were scarce an eric for his head, if death had stayed his footsteps while on victory's track. If on the day of hostages the fruit had from the parent bough been rudely torn in sight of Munster's bands, MacNeas such blow the blood of Connecticut, I trow, could ill have borne. If on the day of Ballochboy some arm had laid by foul surprise, the chieftain low, even our victorious shout of joy would soon give place to rueful cries and groans of woe. If on the day the Saxon host were forced to fly, a day so great for Ashani the chief had been untimely lost, our conquering troops should moderate their mirthful glee. There would not lack on Lifford's day, from Galway, from the glens of Boyle, from Limerick's towers, a marshalled file, a long array of mourners to bedew the soil with tears in showers. If on the day a sterner fate compelled his flight from Athenry, his blood had flowed, what numbers all disconsolate, would come unasked, and share with the affliction's load. If Derry's crimson field had seen his life blood offered up, though it were on victory's shrine, 1,000 cries would swell the keen, 1,000 voices of despair would echo thine. Oh, had the fierce Dalcassian swarm that bloody night of Fergus banks but slain our chief, when rose his camp in wild alarm, how would the triumph of his ranks be dashed with grief? How would the troops of Murbach mourn if on the Curlew Mountains day which England rued, some Saxon hand had left them lorn, by shedding there, amid the fray, their prince's blood. Red would have been our warriors' A's had Roderick found on Sligo's field a gory grave. No northern chief would sooner rise so sage to guide, so strong to shield, so swift to save. Long would Leith Queen have wept if Hugh had met the death he oft had dealt among the foe, but, had our Roderick fallen too, all Erin must, alas, have felt the deadly blow. What do I say? Ah, woe is me! Already we bewail in vain their fatal fall. And Erin, once the great and free, now vainly mourns her breakless chain, and iron thrall. Then, daughter of O'Donnell, dry thine overflowing eyes, and turn thy heart aside, for Adamas' race is born to die, and sternly the sepulchral urn mocks human pride. Look not, nor sigh, for earthly throne, nor place thy trust in arm of clay, but on thy knees uplift thy soul to God alone, for all things go their destined way as he decrees. Embrace the faithful crucifix, and seek the path of pain and prayer thy Saviour trod, nor let thy spirit intermix with earthly hope, with worldly care, its groans to God. And thou, O mighty Lord, whose ways are far above our feeble minds to understand, sustain us in these doleful days, and render light the chain that binds our fallen land,